Let's now talk about making circle, arc and rectangle, and I'll start with circle. So I'm going to use the circle tool from Sketch tab. So here we have the circle tool, and if you click this arrow you'll see that we have two different ways of making the circle. I'll use the first one and I'll start with the plane. So I'll select front plane, and now let's make the first circle. So I'll use this origin, and using this as a center I'll just make the circle. That's it. You need only these 2 points. Now we have a circle of approximately 32 unit here. You can specify the radius value right now, right here if you want to. For example, I'll type 30 and press enter, and this will change. Or you can also specify this radius value later using the dimension tool. So in this case I'll leave the circle and I'll press escape. Alright, now let's go to the second option. So I'll go to this and I'll select the perimeter circle. Now in this case we need 3 points for making this circle. So I'll just click on first point here. Here goes the second point, and here goes the third point. So basically it will make a circle that will pass through 3 points. Once again, if you want to specify a radius here, you can do so, or you can do that later using dimension. Now let's talk about creating arcs. So I'll just move it aside, and then we have the arc tool here, and if you click this arrow you'll see all the 3 arc tools that we can use. Let's start with center point arc. Now as the name suggests, you need to start with center point. So I'll click at a point and that's going to become the center. Now I'll click here and we have the arc now. I'm moving my arc in anti-clockwise direction, so it's making it in this direction. But if, however, you just move it in the clockwise direction, it will make it in that direction too. So here I'll just move it in anti-clockwise and I'll click here and we have the arc. Now we don't need to go back to all the other tools again because these tools are already available for us here. So now if you want to start making something else, some other kind of arc, then you can select it from here. So the second type of arc is tangent arc, and the tangent arc will basically make an arc which is tangent to existing geometry. So for making this arc you need an existing geometry. In this case we already have this arc, and you can use this not only with arc but also with lines and other things. So here I'll just click on this endpoint, and now we'll have a tangent here. Now this arc will remain tangent with the arc that we started with, the arc which we used as a reference, but also you can change that. So in this case, though it is tangent, if I move my cursor back to this point and if I start in this direction, look at this, it will become tangent but now in an opposite way. So if I click now, just look at this and this, they are tangent but now in this direction. So you can change the direction simply by moving your arc. So again, now in this case you can see that it is completely perpendicular to the point where I started this with. So I'll move back here, and when I move it away from that, here it is. Now it's tangent. I'll go to this point again and I'll move here, and again it's tangent. I'll go here and now I'll move it out like this, and it is kind of like perpendicular at that exact point. So depending on where you start your arc from, it will be either tangent or perpendicular, and the direction of tangency will also change. So I'll just keep on making, and here we have it. To exit out of this, press escape. Now finally the third type of arc, which is 3 point, and basically you just need 3 points for this. So the first point, the second point, and the third point somewhere here, and we have got the 3 point arc. Now once again let's move it aside, and let's now talk about rectangles. Now there are several different ways of making rectangle, and if you click this arrow right beside this, you'll see actually 5 different ways, and 4 of these are for rectangle, and the last one is for a parallelogram, which is very similar to rectangle, of course. So I'll start with corner rectangle. Now in this case we need 2 diagonally opposite points. So I'll click on first point here and the second point here, and just by specifying these 2 points we were able to make this rectangle. Now let's go to the second one, which is the center rectangle. So I'll select it from here, and then I'll click at a point, and that point will be the center of rectangle. Now if I move out, you'll see that we now have two diagonals, and also the rectangle will be made accordingly. Now the advantage of this rectangle is, well, very basic. In this case, you can use these diagonals as references, and you can even dimension them later using the Smart Dimension tool. All right, let's press escape. Let's see what we have next. 3-point rectangle. So basically you need 3 points for this. So first point, well, I'll just make second point here, then third point here, and we have the 3-point rectangle. So first 2 points will define the direction of your rectangle, and the third point will just specify the height of your rectangle. Then we have 3-point rectangle, but in this case the first point will be the center. So it's kind of like this arc which is made with this diagonal, but it will be made with 3 point instead of 2. So again, maybe I'll just make one here. So first point and second point. Now this point will be along the center of the rectangle. So I'll click here, and now look at this. When I move out, it is basically just making my rectangle using the first point here and the second point right here. Now I just need to specify the third point and it will make the rectangle. And finally, the parallelogram. So in this case, it will make, well, the parallelogram where the opposite sides will be parallel. So the first point, second point, and you can specify the third point to make that parallelogram. And here it is. That's the parallelogram. Opposite sides, they are parallel. And that's how you can create these 3 basic geometries: the circle, arc, and rectangle.